Welcome to the 16th session for the series Test Automation Framework for Web Applications built using Cypress and JavaScript. In the last session, we saw how can we use the utilities basically which are provided by the Cypress. We saw like how can we retry our failed test cases, how can we record the videos for our test execution, and how can we change the height and width, basically the viewports. Now in this session, we will finally execute our test cases in the CI environment, and for that we are going to use something called GitHub Actions. Okay, so let me just jump onto the VS Code directly. So basically, for executing our test cases inside the GitHub Actions, what we need to do, we have to push our code to the repository. We have to push our code as a repository to the GitHub. So let me do that part. Or even before that, let me do one thing. Let me just reveal it now. Okay, and let me create a folder here. So basically, when we want to execute our test cases in the GitHub Actions, okay, so what we need to do, we basically need to create the workflows. There is something called workflows. So inside the project root directory only, you have to create a folder called GitHub .github it is. Okay, and then what you have to do is under this .github, we have to create the files. So for example, this is the first one. This is the UI test only, and maybe I want to execute it on the Chrome browser, and it's a YAML file, guys. Okay, so with the extension called YML. Okay, now you tell me one thing, like when we are supposed to execute our test cases, so what all we need? So first of all, we need a machine, right? This is for like for test execution. Basically, we need what? We need a machine, correct? So once we have a machine, we may have Windows, Mac, or Linux, correct? So after the machine, what do we need? We need the softwares to be installed, right? Softwares to be installed. For example, if you are working with Selenium WebDriver and Java, so you need Selenium, Java, and everything, right? But here we are supposed to execute this Cypress test, right? So we need what? We need Node.js. Okay. After that, you have the machine, you have the softwares. Okay, so you only need to execute them, need to execute the tests. Okay, so let me just start with this. So basically, what GitHub Actions will do, GitHub Actions will take the information from this YAML file, from this place basically. Let me just create it under workflows. It should be under workflows actually, workflows, and let's put it here. Okay, okay, now let's start it. So first of all, we have to give the name of this workflow. So maybe I can provide here it as maybe first predefined browser Chrome. So for example, I'm only interested to execute my test cases on the Chrome browser. This is the first file only. Okay, this is the first workflow which we're able to see. In the next, we'll see like how can we select at the runtime, how can we select the browser at runtime, and how can we actually run all test cases parallelly onto every browser like Chrome, Edge, Electron, and Firefox. Okay, we'll see everything, don't worry. So this is how we can actually provide the name, and then there is something called on. This is basically the events. Okay, on means how exactly you want to execute your test cases. For example, if you want to execute it manually as well, for example, if your product owner goes to the record repository and they want to execute, so you are providing the option for them to manually trigger. Okay, so for that there is something called workflow dispatch. Okay, after that you need to define the jobs basically. Jobs is like, so maybe I can name this job as UI tests and Chrome. Okay, and it should run on, we need a machine, right? We need basically a machine. So let me take the Ubuntu and that latest one. Okay, so run so Ubuntu latest. And what would be the steps? Steps means basically what you need to do. You can define the name as well. So first of all, what do you want to do with this code? So the code which you are going to push inside the GitHub repository, and you have this machine. Now in this machine you should have that code, right? So we are going to download that code, maybe we can say, in this machine. Okay, so maybe uses actions checkout the version 2. Okay, so what exactly are you doing here? We are basically checking out the code from where? From GitHub repository, where we are going to push the code, to where? To the machine. To which machine? To this machine, which we have already requested onto the line number 19. Okay, now once we have that machine and once we have that code, then what is the next step? Let me write it down as step number 1. The next step would be to install the softwares, right? So let me just write down installing node.js. Okay, and let me just copy this name and install node.js. Maybe node.js, I can give it this way. Okay, so for that there is some other action, setup hyphen node. Okay, so basically there are different actions basically which are available with the GitHub. So with the help of these we are going to install node. Okay, so which node version you want? Maybe I'm interested in the 16th one. Okay, so what is the step number 3 now? After doing this, basically what you want to do, v3, and you see it has a proper format, like you have to properly maintain the indentation, and even the spaces are very important to give. You see, this YAML file has its own proper structure, so you have to be very careful while writing these files. Okay, now step number 3 would be installing dependencies for what? For Cypress, right? So let me just copy this, installing dependencies. So for Cypress, we had to do the npm I, right? Npm install. So that's what we are doing here. So let me just do npm. Oh, I'm so sorry. I have to do npm ci. Okay. And then as a fourth step, what should I do? Run Cypress test on Chrome. What is Chrome? A browser, right? So maybe let me just give this name as run Cypress UI test. Okay. So run. What was the command I was using? So this was a script, right? So let me just copy this name and put it here, space. So the command was npm run, and that's this particular script. Okay, this is the same way like which we do in the local machine. That's what we are doing. So first of all, we have requested for a machine, then we checked out the code from the GitHub repository to this particular machine, then we install the required softwares for Cypress like Node.js, and then we are just executing. Okay, now the last step would be to put our reports. So we were able to see or save our reports in the reports directory, right? So that would be the step number 5. Let me just add a step number 5. So we have to upload these test reports basically to the GitHub workspace, to artifacts. Okay, so basically name is I can give upload reports. Uses maybe let me just copy it. Uses actions. There is something called upload artifact. Okay, with, I can provide the name here. Maybe these are the UI test cases, right? So UI test report, tests report basically. And what was the path for it? It was present under Cypress and reports, right? Okay. So see, this is how actually you can provide the configuration here in the YAML file. So this is one of the GitHub workflow which we have created here so far. Okay. Also, see, these are the events on which this GitHub workflow will get executed. So we have only added this workflow like manual trigger. Okay. So when we are pushing the code or any PR is raised, this is not going to execute. So in that case, what you can do, you can actually add more triggers here. For example, when there is a push, basically, when there is a code push on branches, maybe main or master, okay, then this should execute. So let me add it here, the command trigger on push. Basically, when the code is pushed to this repository, to the code trigger on push to the master branch. Okay, let me copy it. Also, what we can do, basically, there is something called pull request, right? So if any pull request is raised via this branch like master, okay, so we can have this trigger on, this time it is pull request. So this will be called automatically when these operations happen, when these events happen. Okay, so let me just do one thing now. We have this code with us. So let me add one more file here, dot git ignore. So we don't want to push this node modules with. Okay, also this package hyphen log.json file. Okay, now let me go to the course repository, initialize the repository maybe. Let me copy. Okay, okay, no issues. Let me go with everything. No worries. Just a second. No, 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 no. I may have to just a second. Reveal in Finder maybe. Let me delete this one and let me rename the name. This is like why I'm doing the why I have renamed the project, because I already have created a repository with this name. Okay, so you see this is the one. So let me try to open it, open the folder. So basically YouTube channel record, and this is the one. Okay, now we are good. So maybe what we can do, we can publish it as a repository. I'm publishing it as a private repository this time, but yeah, there will be available code onto the other repository. I'll share the link with you in the description. So it is publishing the branch. Okay, and if I go to my GitHub account, I can see there is some repository created, and now is the game. You see there is something called actions. Okay, and you see there is something called 01 predefined browser Chrome. So this was the name of the workflow which we provided, you remember, at line number 10. Okay, so if you click here, you'll be able to see everything. You'll be able to see the executions basically. Now why didn't it started the execution? Because the branch which we have here is master, right? So it had to start the execution as well. Oh, okay, you see what is the mistake we have done? We have provided double A, so this is the issue. Okay, no issues, we'll push it again. But yeah, we already provided this workflow dispatch event, right? So what we can do, we can click on their run flow. Okay, we take the code from master and we click on the run workflow. We just make a refresh here and we will be able to see the report, not the report, basically the execution. Okay, this UI test Chrome. What was this? This was basically the job name which we provided. So under this job, what are we requesting? We are requesting for a machine first of all, then we are checking out the code, then we are installing. And if you want to see the details here, you click on it and you see it is doing. what blah 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 and everything. Okay, let me just see what is the issue now. Okay, we had this Cypress tests. We are going to execute this test case this time, not this one. Let me skip this test case. Okay, also let me take this one from here. I already have prepared these files actually. Okay, Cypress work from home. Let me delete it. Reveal in Finder. And let me repush the code basically. So whatever I have, let me just maybe I can give the message as workflows updated. Okay, I'm pushing the code now, and let me go here again to the repository. I can go, or maybe this is the repository. Now you go to the actions tab. You see now this time we are getting these three options because why I have added three workflows, three different workflows. So let me go to the first one only. Okay, and let me just execute this. Run workflow, refresh it, UI test Chrome. You see, it has started the work. Okay, but somehow it is actually failing. So let me show you the other repository which I have prepared. This is the same configuration file only. Okay, so you'll come to the actions. You have to come to the here. Okay, when you execute this, so you'll have the option run workflow. You refresh it, you open it, and if you click here, you'll be able to see all the details. You see, it is installing the Node.js, installing the other dependencies. If you want to expand, you can expand it. Okay, and then ideally it will actually execute all the Cypress tests. So if you go here, Cypress tests basically, yeah, see, it is executing the same command npm run cy test chrome, and at the final step would be the to upload the reports. Let me show you the reports as well. Once the execution is done, we'll be able to see. Let's close it, close it. Yeah, you see, it's showing the version of Cypress, version of Chrome browser. Still waiting to connect to Chrome browser. Then it will start the execution. Okay, let it complete it. Let me show you the other one. So basically the other workflow which I have created is to select the browser at the runtime. Okay. So for example, if you go here inside the summary, okay, go back and select browser at runtime. Now if you click on the run workflow, basically you see you are getting one drop down. So you have to select one value from these four. Chrome, Edge, and Electron and Firefox. So how can we give that workflow? Basically, you see, under the workflow dispatch, you have to provide the inputs. Okay. And as an input, what are the different options we have provided? These are the four. And this is required. This is required means you have to select one if you want to execute the workflow. Okay. So default is Chrome by default. Okay. But if you want to execute it on the Electron, maybe you select the Electron, you click on it. Okay. You refresh the page and you see we'll be able to see the execution. Now this time it should execute on the Electron browser. Okay, and the last execution was done successfully. You see everything got passed. We are seeing the tick mark here. We click on the summary, and to see the reports, you scroll down to the page and we see UI test report. This is the same name which we provided here, UI test report. Okay, now if you click here, the reports will be downloaded to your machine. You can open it in Finder or the Windows Explorer. You unzip it, and today is 26th of November. You open this report in Edge browser maybe, and you see we'll be able to see the reports. even including the videos, and we'll be able to see the screenshots as well. So that's how you will be able to see the reports. You will be able to download the reports and will be able to execute in the CI environment. Okay. The second workflow which we had is that is supposed to execute on Electron, right? So see, it is actually happening on that. Okay. The third one, let it be completed. Let's jump on to the other one. The third workflow. So basically, in the third workflow, which I've done, basically I have used something called metric strategy. Okay, so I provided all the four browsers names, and I am actually taking those browsers names here, and I'm executing for all of them. So run cy test metrics for browsers. So I have written a script like this, right? Cypress cy test, and then I have this browser Chrome, Firefox, Edge, and Electron, right? So same is going to execute. So if you go here, if you click on the run workflow, you click here, you refresh the page, so you will be able to see. You see, your test cases are executing in all of the four browsers in the parallel mode. It is executing on Chrome, it is executing on Firefox, and it is executing in Electron and Edge browser as well. Okay, this must be completed. Yeah, all spec passed. Electron, we selected the browser at the runtime. This is also okay. Now let's check for this. It is taking some time because we have maybe the application which we are taking, the source demo, it takes some time actually sometimes. But if you want to see the details, you can actually open any of them. For example, this one is for the Chrome, this one is for the Firefox. Okay, if you open it, see, we should see this Firefox here. Yeah, so Firefox with the version 120. See, the Firefox one got passed as well. If you open the Electron one, so Electron, what was the version of Electron browser? It was 114. Okay, so this is how you can see. So let me close this, and two are done, Firefox and Electron. Chrome and Edge is still pending. So maybe that's the issue with the application. Okay, no, this is executing fine. Yeah, video is compressing, Edge is done, and Chrome is also completed almost. Yeah, okay. So this is how you actually can see, you actually can execute in the CI environment your test cases using GitHub Actions. So we have seen the three different implementations: predefined browser, Chrome. Second, we can select the browser at runtime. Also, we can achieve the parallel cross-browser testing with Cypress. Okay. So in the next session, we will see how can we add the document comments to the code and how helpful are they to understand the code. Okay. For example, if you have written some code and now you are not a part of team, so some other person is joining the team, right? So he must be able to understand the code by just looking at the comments which you have provided over your methods and everything. Okay, so we'll see how exactly we can provide and how helpful are they. Okay, so that's all for this session. Thank you for your time. Have a very good day.